All right, welcome everybody. Here it is Monday night again, and we are back for a part two. We had such an amazing turnout last week, and so many people asking questions last week that we just had to come and do it again. And this time we brought back up. So tonight we've also got Callie on, who works with Katherine at the Addictions Academy, and we're just going to talk all about it, right? We're going to tell you guys all about it, everything that you need to know. You're welcome to ask any questions. Thank you guys so much for coming on again tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I had a blast last week.
Yes. Yeah. And like I said, you guys, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Tell us where are you watching from. If you're in recovery, drop your clean date. Let us know that you're in here with us. So, okay. So let's kind of pick up where we left off. So you start. Where do you think, if we could go to a part two, like did we miss anything, or you start wherever you want to talk about?
There was so much that I didn't touch on, but I got such a great response. Like, people were messaging me and coming on my Facebook page and asking me questions that didn't get answered. And so I'm hoping that people who are watching tonight take the initiative to reach out, ask questions, let us know where you're from, let us know what we can do to help, what we can do to bring some understanding to you, because there are many different things that we touched on. And first and foremost, I talked about the Addictions Academy, and I talked about, people being able to sign up and do what I do. I became a certified addiction counselor through the Addictions Academy. And then I went on to be an IMAC, which is an International Master Addiction Coach. And there was many courses. People were reaching out to me, like, all of a sudden after we got off the air, it was like 50 messages bombarded me, and they were wanting to know, how do I do this? How can I get signed up? And I couldn't even at the time respond to everybody in a timely manner. And so I wanted to come back on, and I wanted to let everyone know that I brought a guest with me. This is Dr. Callie Estes. She is the founder and the CEO of the Addictions Academy. She can tell you more about every class that is offered there, and there's ways that we can get financial aid available for you in the state of Florida if you meet certain criteria. And then today she's offering 50% off. So if there is someone who is interested, even not in the state of Florida, that may have to, make a financial sacrifice, she realizes that, and she wanted to offer on this show 50% off. So I thought that was very awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
People and I just want to tell everybody that I connected somebody to you a few weeks ago, and they are already like linked up and getting ready to take the course. And they said that you've been super helpful. So this is like something that you can really do. If you want to help other people, this is an opportunity to do that. And it's an amazing opportunity. I think you can do it, a lot of it virtually too. Is that right?
Yeah, most of it is virtually, and most of it is self-paced courses. Like me, I'm a single mom. And I would be going to work during the day, trying to make ends meet, paycheck to paycheck, and going back to school. It just, trying to get down to the community college or the university. The reason I didn't go into social work is, one, I didn't want to be stuck in a pay bracket that was not a great pay bracket.
That's real.
Second of all, I wanted to be able to be at home with my daughter, cooking on the stove and getting her ready for school and things like that while I'm doing my studies. And it made it very attainable to me. I was able to do that through the way these courses are designed. And then I even reached out to Callie personally before I started working for the Addictions Academy. And I said, I feel like these classes are way easy. She said, that's the way they're designed. We designed these courses so that you will understand them, so that you will retain the information, and so that you can use it in your, field. And I thought, wow, I'm thinking I'm so smart. She's the smart one. She's the one who designed them that way. But it empowered me. And that made me, feel confident in what I was doing, because my desire is to help people. I work a 12-step program, and my 12-step program tells me that our primary purpose is to help another addict or alcoholic.
That's right.
And everybody doesn't work a 12-step program. And I learned through my IMAC course that there are many different addictions, and there are many different approaches to recovery, and everybody's doesn't look the same. So I thought that was a really good point that, I wanted to bring up, and I wanted everybody to know that it doesn't matter if you are harm reduction. It doesn't matter if you're totally abstinent. If you want to be in recovery, you have to identify what your recovery goals are and how your recovery coach can help you meet them.
I love that. Well, maybe Callie, so you actually designed this program, right? Can you tell us like a little bit about you and what your motivation was for this? How did this whole idea come about?
Sure. So I've been a clinician for 27 years. I have a PhD in clinical psychology, and I've always done drug and alcohol. That's been my thing. My drug of choice back in the day was speed and diet pills, but I didn't get sober traditionally. I went to a meeting. It didn't work for me. My primary drug of choice is food. My secondary was diet pills. So, you go to an OA meeting and there's nothing, and then you go to an NA meeting and there's sugar and caffeine and cigarettes, which were my three favorite things in the world at the time, and it didn't work. So I ended up on a yoga mat and using fitness as a way to get sober and stay sober. So I brought that into what I do with my clients, and it started to work. And about 15 years ago, I started to notice the recidivism rate in treatment is very high. It's the same people coming through over and over again. And I noticed the curriculum and the criteria that we're offering was the same for the same person. And I thought this wouldn't have worked on me. None of this would have worked on me. So I started branching off. I went on my own, and I'm a celebrity addictions coach. I've been all over TV and magazines and whatnot. I do with celebrities, executives, NFL, NBA, high profile. And I started to develop a program with them using coaching instead of therapy. And I noticed it worked because in therapy, you go backwards, you're dealing with, all this trauma and all that crap. You're constantly bringing it up. In coaching, it's present and future. What are you going to do today? What are you going to do in the future? And it started to work faster. And I started to see bigger, quicker results with my clients than I did with therapy. And as I'm doing this, people started to say, well, how are you doing it? Where are you getting the curriculum from? And I'm like, I'm creating it as I go because there's nothing on the market. So I started with one class, and now we have 40 different classes. We're in 41 countries. We've got a staff of almost, I think, 30 faculty. So we've been in business for 10 years, and now we're the leading global provider of classes. So we have we have the largest state and federal grants to train therapists, front lines, and crisis workers. So that's what we've been up to, and it's blossomed. It's been great. I have a big keynote speech coming up in Nebraska for all the therapists to teach them about coaching because therapists don't understand it. They don't see what it means. And it's been so beneficial in the industry. So that's that in a nutshell.
That's amazing. And I just want to point this out because you just said that. And I think this is amazing. This is actually like a global thing because
Mhm.
we get people that watch these like literally all over the world. There's somebody on here right now from Ireland. So
That's awesome.
that's really cool that this is like a global thing. It doesn't matter where you are, this is applicable to you. So I have a question.
Mhm.
What is the difference? Now, I heard you say like with therapy, you go backwards, and that makes total sense because I've done therapy before. And with coaching, you go forward. And I remember that that's something that you shared last week, Katherine. So tell me, what does coaching exactly look like?
So coaching, you're in the driver's seat as the client versus therapy, I'm in the driver's seat. As a coach, I'm going to ask you open-ended questions. What, where, when, how, why, and who. And I'm going to get you to come up with the answers. And then I'm going to get you to do the work. And then if you don't do the work, I can say, well, you said you were going to do XYZ. You didn't do XYZ. What happens now? So the ownership and the accountability stays with the client versus therapy. You expect your therapist to give you the answers. And then you take the advice and you go, well, see, it didn't work when I did it. And you blame the therapist. So coaching keeps the ownership and the accountability on the client. And when you're in early recovery or active addiction, you don't want ownership. You want everybody to be responsible for everything but you. So when I put you in the driver's seat and make you accountable for your behavior, it's a new phenomenon for the client. And you start to see results because then they do something and they're like, wow, I did that and I survived. And then you're the coach. So you're like, yes, you did it. Look what you did. You applied for a job and you had an interview and I'm so proud of you. And then they get excited and then you get excited and then they do something else and that builds and that builds and that builds and that builds. And all of a sudden you have this amazing individual that went from shattered and broken 2 or 3 months ago to super successful versus therapy where we're still talking about what happened when you were 8. So it kind of flips everything upside down and forces you to become accountable and be successful.
That's amazing. Just thinking about my recovery journey, I remember like I know I can relate this to sponsorship because I do the 12 step too, but when I think about like my journey in sponsorship, I remember my first sponsor, she would like tell me what to do and tell me, how to steer the ship basically.
Mhm.
And then my next sponsor, the one that I have now, she's like, pray about it. Let me know what you decide. You know what I mean? And it was so challenging for me in the beginning because I literally did not know how to do the right thing,
Mhm.
but like she loved me through it when I made mistakes, and I learned to think for myself and make decisions for myself. And now I'm pretty good at that. So I do love the idea of letting somebody be the captain of their own ship, and self-directed of what they want to do instead of us telling somebody what you need to do.
Yeah, and it lets them do a couple things. Number one, you learn from mistake. So
Mhm.
they learn every time they make a mistake, I shouldn't do that, I should do this. They learn that versus us going, well, it's like the 5-year-old, don't go play in traffic. And the 5-year-old goes, well, why not? Well, just don't do it. It's a bad idea. Well, why not? Because it's a bad idea. And then the child goes and plays in traffic and almost gets hit and goes, oh my, I shouldn't do that. So they learned I shouldn't do that based upon an experience that happened versus us, guiding them and giving them the roadmap. Because in early recovery, you don't want to listen to anybody, nobody knows anything but me. So I say, okay, great. Tell me what you know. Tell me what your plan is. And then they go, well, I don't really have a plan. Oh, okay. Well, let's figure that out together. And then you give them exercises. So I have 2 different workbooks that I created. One has 45 exercises and one has 50. And they do the exercises. So when they say, I don't know what to do, I'm stuck, I'll say, try this exercise or try that exercise. And then they do it and they come back and they're like, wow, I had this breakthrough. I had this idea. I had this epiphany and I'm going to put this in and put that in. And all of a sudden they're doing something. And I have them do bucket list and I have them do roadmap and I have them do vision board and all of those things. And then once they do that, we gravitate to the life coach method stuff. And that's the lighthouse and the magnet and the secret triangle. And it's sort of like the what's now. Because you also have the people that are, in recovery and they go, okay, great, but what do I do now? Well, now we go next level. Now we figure out your purpose and your passion and who are you helping and what do you want to do? Do you want to have a business or the best version of yourself is the what now. So we have all the underlying stuff and then we take it to the next level.
That's amazing.
I,
So,
would-
Kat,
I just want
go
to share,
ahead.
I think that coaching is such a powerful tool because it empowers the client. See,
Mhm.
for a long time for me in active addiction, I didn't do anything right. For decades, I didn't do anything right. And the coaching technique, it empowers the client. And yes, they meet they make their goals and meet their goals. And it's like, wow, I did something beneficial and productive. I did something that matters. And that to me, when I got in recovery, was huge because I hadn't done that for a long time. And so having a coach take you through baby steps, and meet you right where you want to be. You don't have to, do everything today.
Right.
You don't have to do it all today, but what can we do today? What do you want me to help guide you in that support? I felt a lot of times if I didn't do what someone told me to do, they were going to be mad at me or they were going to disapprove. And with a coach, they can kind of guide you and support you where you are and keep you turned in that right direction moving forward. And it's progress, not perfection.
Yeah, that's so true. I remember times like when people told me what to do that you don't want to fail them. So then what do? You don't say anything, right? Because if I don't tell them, then they won't know that I failed them. But then you're holding on to these secrets and these secrets keep us sick. So it turns into a snowball. So I'm just curious, Katherine, like how did you get started in? Oh, did we lose you?
No, I'm here. Wait a minute. Something
Okay. Okay. I was just going to ask how you got started. Like, how did you guys find each other? I want to hear that story. And then how you got started into the Addictions Academy.
Okay, hold on a minute.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. There, am I here? Yes.
You're here. Okay.
Okay. My screen changed on me.
There you are. Okay.
So how I got started in the Addictions Academy. I started as a student. I went through vocational rehabilitation to Broward College. I obtained an associate's degree. And like I said, I wanted to go on to get my bachelor's. I was approved. I was Phi Theta Kappa National Member of the Year. I was accepted into FIU, FAU. There were so many colleges that I had applied for, paid hundreds of dollars for admission fees, and was accepted in. And I worked in treatment. And the therapists were complaining. They said, you know, I'm making $50,000 a year and I've got a master's degree and I feel like I'm in a dead end job and I'm burning out. And all these clients are with me. And you know, my caseload's never going down. It's only getting bigger. And I was watching them, and it was so true, because our census used to be 60 and now it's 95. So not only are they not getting paid more, not only do they still feel like they're in a burnout position, but so many more people, because addiction is changing. It is progressing, not only in the addict itself, but in society. Addiction is progressing. And I saw these therapists very unhappy. And one thing that was very motivating for me was salary. You know, I don't want to work my butt off all day, be away from my daughter, and not make any money. The second thing that was motivating for me was I want to be at home. I want to be a present mother. I want to be a mother that, not a helicopter mom, but a mom that shows up. We are, hold on, getting an alert here.
I got one too. It's an Amber Alert, just so you guys know. There's an Amber Alert right now. Check your phone.
Okay, but there was, it's got me vibrating and everything. But there was a place where I realized that I wanted to be a present mother. I wanted to be at home with my daughter. And if I'm going to work all day and then going to school all night, where is my child? And so I started looking at other alternatives. And somebody said, you can become a certified addiction counselor. You can work as an independent contractor. You can be a group facilitator. You don't even have to work full time. You can do it per diem. Make $100 an hour. And I thought, $100 an hour? I want to do that. And I said, well, how do I become a certified addiction counselor? And I Googled it, and the Addictions Academy popped up. And I started asking questions, and I have a few friends in the field, and I have a few friends that were familiar with the Addictions Academy. And one particular gentleman said to me, you know, contact this lady. And he gave me Callie's number. And I called and I texted her, and I said, hey, I got your number from so-and-so, and I'm really interested in this course. I said, but, you know, I don't know how quick I can get in and how quick I can finish. And she said, well, we'll get you signed up. Vocational rehabilitation was paying for my schooling. So I already have financial means to go to school. It's just, what did I really want to do? So I went to the Addictions Academy for Certified Addiction Counselor. I finished the course. And then you have to get certified through the certification board. The Florida Certification Board is a doozy. It is a doozy. You have to have 5,000 supervised hours. You have to have 350 schooling hours. And I had all that, and I was able to get my certification, but my timeline and the Florida Certification Board, they didn't match up. They weren't parallel. So once I got all my footwork in, I got pushback. Well, we got to call and verify this. We got to look into this. We got to make sure these hours are added up. We got to send this to my supervisor. And I thought, wow, I really need this certification. So I reached out to Callie again. What else can I do? Where can I make this kind of money? Where can I feel empowered? And where can I still help people? And my biggest concern was, I want to help addicts. I want to help addicts. How can I help addicts? What's going to give me the most power to help addicts? She said, you need to do the IMAC course. And she told me about it. And the IMAC course is a master addiction recovery coach. You know, I specialize in sex addiction, food addiction, gambling addiction, harm reduction. And there's all these great courses that people can come to me. You know, I smoked crack. Everybody didn't. You know, I was an alcoholic. Everybody wasn't. Some people went to the casino. Some people were on the internet too much. And I realized that was something that was very important to me, because I have a child that's a gamer. And learning healthy boundaries and strategies to allow her, you know, something that she likes, but not overindulge in it till it becomes habit forming. And then people who, you know, they use poly substances or poly, you know, things like, maybe you got high and you got into porn. You know, and maybe you're not getting high anymore, but you're still watching the porn and you're still doing things that are unhealthy. And so it gave me the power to help people. And she said, we can get you in this IMAC course. You don't need to go through the Florida Certification Board. It's an international coaching certificate. You can do it from anywhere. And that was empowering to me, to know that I could sit in the privacy of my own home. I could do my classes. I could work from home or anywhere. Today we were sitting in Callie's pool, you know, and you get that freedom. You know, one of the biggest things that people reach out to me and they say is, you know, how much time am I going to have to spend coaching? That's totally up to you. You know, your schedule is dependent on you. So I finished the IMAC course, and I would get up I was so interested in what I was learning, and it came easy to me. It was something that I was able to grasp onto and identify and learn, and it came easy to me. And I went on class at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I did my classes for a couple hours, and I got through the course, and I finished in I didn't think I would finish that fast. You know, they're self-paced. I thought I was going to be at the last minute trying to cram everything in and it being a stressful situation. I got done in record time, and I felt really good. You know, I didn't overextend myself. I didn't underextend myself and push it off to the last minute, and I got certified. And so to me, you know, that was motivating. But then I went to Callie and I said, hey, I want to work for the Addictions Academy, because one thing about the Addictions Academy, it's huge. Not only does she provide the classes, but she also provides the services for the classes that she teaches. So she has different things that, you know, she can offer her clients. And the more clients that she has, the more people that she needs to have trained to be able to provide these services to her clients. And I reached out to her and I said, you know, I'm motivated by you. I think that you are very inspiring. You're driven. You know, you have a purpose, and you're helping people help people. And I want to help people. But what I really want to do is help people so that the help is there and readily available. And she said, well, meet me for lunch. And we sat down and we had lunch and we got together, and I've just kind of ran with it. You know, I've got people who message me and call me every day. I've got people who are going different routes to get signed up in courses. Some are cash pay, some are putting it on credit, some are going through vocational rehabilitation. And I'm just guiding them and working them through the process to get them in school, because I've been there, and experience is the best teacher. You know, who better to show you how to do it than somebody who's already done it?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. I love how you guys connected through all this, and all of I love how you said, like, I want to help people, you know, because we need so many people on the front lines. It has changed. Addiction has progressed in the world today. It has gotten so much worse out there. I mean, it just from when I was using, right? Just 5 years ago to now, it has gotten so much worse, you know? So maybe we could talk about that for a few minutes, like what we were talking about before we got started about harm reduction. And you said that's one of the courses in the academy as well, right? Can you guys tell people, like, what exactly is harm reduction? What does that mean? What does it look like? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so harm reduction started in the 70s with the clean needle programs in New York. And a lot of people say harm reduction and they say, oh, that's a bad thing. And they remember what happened because it was a pay to play. It was basically a for-profit deal in New York City, and it failed. But what harm reduction means, it means less harm. That's all it means. So if you have someone drinking 6 beers a day and they want to drink 4, that's harm reduction. If you have somebody that's doing heroin, oxy, roxy, dilaudid fentanyl, and they switch to Suboxone, that's harm reduction. If you have somebody that maybe, for example, has back pain and they go off all pain medication, but they smoke cannabis, that's harm reduction. So it means less harm. And we see a lot of people arguing with each other because you have people saying, well, I'm in 12-step, you need to be totally clean. You can't have that here. But they'll allow Wellbutrin or Seroquel or Adderall or Vyvanse because it's prescribed, but you can't take methamphetamine. But meth and Vyvanse and Adderall kind of all the same thing. So it becomes this argument instead of let's help people. It starts to become like a fight over what you can or cannot have. But the idea behind harm reduction is that it's less harm to the body, and then somebody can decide what they want to do. So a lot of people end up fully, truly clean in the long run, but maybe they're not ready to go from, shooting Dilaudid to nothing. They may need that bridge of Suboxone or methadone, and then a step down, and then eventually sobriety. It just depends on each person's pathway to get there.
Yeah, and I just want to share a story with you guys. So the concept, like I said earlier, like I do 12-step programs still today. And so when I first heard the concept of harm reduction, it was kind of like mind-boggling for me, right? I had heard of it before, but I went to a conference last year and I had not really been introduced to the concept other than just hearing about it, kind of randomly, but I didn't know exactly what it meant. And so I went to this conference and they opened the conference with this phrase: "Hi, my name is blank, and I am an IV recreational methamphetamine user." And I was like, we're not in Kansas anymore. So, it just kind of blew my mind. But I sat there all day. I mean, the conference was the entire day, and I listened, right? I listened with an open mind. And they talked about all of these different things and why they were doing it and their purpose in it, and just, so many people that they are reaching that are out there on the streets. And what got me about it is that they talked about loving people right where they're at. When I was in my addiction, I felt like I was literally like the scum of the earth, like nobody wanted to look at me or talk to me. I was like a reject of society, like the lowest of low. That's how I felt. And so these people that do harm reduction, or this kind of harm reduction that I heard of that day, like they go out in mobile vans and they have needle exchanges, and they give people safe equipment to use, and a lot of times provide peer support to them out there in the trenches. Like they're out there on the streets with these people, and they're loving them right where they're at. And you know what? They're building trust with them. And they're also giving them hope, right? Because many of those people that are out there have experience in their shoes, right? They have lived experience in that. And so when you go out there and you're building trust with people and you're offering them hope, like one day when they do get ready, or they want a resource, or they want to make a change, or they just want some help, guess who they're going to call? They're going to call Sally, that was out there helping them when nobody else would. When nobody would answer their calls, their own mom won't answer their calls. But yet this person was out there loving them when they couldn't love themselves. To me, that really speaks to the kind of person that I want to be, right? To love people exactly where they're at, no matter where they're at. Because when I look at myself then to myself now, I am the same person, right? I am still Sonya. Even when I was out there, I'm still Sonya. But, so my worth, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is my worth was never wrapped up when if I was using or if I wasn't using, so I love that they go out there and they love people right where they're at. That's what really spoke to me about it. And the more that I've learned about it since then, I mean, it's helping people in a lot of ways. Like, number one, it's lowering the transmitted diseases. I mean, never mind. But anyways, it's lowering transmitted diseases. It's doing a lot of stuff for people. So I really like the concept of it. Yeah.
For me, I want to just, when I was in active addiction, nobody could tell me anything. I would hear people say, why don't you just quit? And drugs affected me differently than they may have affected people who are non-addicts or non-alcoholics. Some people can drink and some people can use recreationally. I wasn't one of those people. But the more I was told to do something or to not do something, the more I went and did it. So, you need to leave this alone. Well, I'll show you. And that was my mentality. It was a very sick mentality. Had I known about harm reduction and had somebody come to me and loved me right where I was and said, you know what? You don't have to stop snorting pills today. Let's just leave the crack alone. Can you leave the crack alone for one day? And let's see if we can break that polysubstance use. Or maybe let's leave the pills alone and just maybe have a hit of crack and some alcohol. And kind of tapered me off one or the other, because I was such a mess and everything was so entangled that I didn't know how to break free. And if I had one, then I needed the other.
Oh yeah.
And and I fed off of that rebellion a long time. You need to just stop. You need to quit. You need to don't do this, and you need to do that. And that made me do it more. And harm reduction is, if somebody comes to me and says, I had a really bad night last night. I felt like killing myself. I felt like, I was going to go to jail. I felt like whatever they went through. People go through emotions and ranges of feelings through active addiction. And, if somebody comes to me and says, I was scared to death that I was going to get pulled over and kill somebody. I was scared to death that I was going to go home and hurt somebody. Well, what can we do so that you don't have to feel that way anymore? You know, maybe it starts with just not using and driving under the influence. You know, that's not only harm reduction for the individual, but also for society. And that's a huge step. And a lot of people don't see that. But I have a friend who had a car accident, and it was an off-duty police officer and his wife and 2 children. And the 2 children and the husband, the officer, died. And the wife was left paraplegic, and he went to prison. And he had to live with that. And had someone just held his hand and said, let's just not do it and drive, and practice harm reduction with him. You know, there's a lot of positive alternatives to harm reduction that people overlook. Everybody's not always where everybody else is. And that's why meeting people exactly where they are is very important. And a lot of it's ugly talk. People don't want to hear. That's not, you know, that's not socially acceptable. And, you know, a guy on the street corner comping drugs is not socially acceptable either. But they'll see that and drive right by it.
So I always have a comeback for people that say, well, harm reduction isn't a good thing to do. I always say, and I ask this question, do you eat sugar or do you drink caffeine? 9 times out of 10, it's one or the other. Sugar has almost the same chemical makeup as heroin. It has a detox to it. And caffeine is a drug as well. They're both classified as drugs. So if you're eating sugar or drinking caffeine, telling them not to do drugs, that's a problem. So I always pose that to people. And I was on a podcast, oh God, 6 years ago maybe, with Kent Paul, who's actually passed away now. And we brought that up. And I went toe-to-toe with a couple people. And I went toe-to-toe with Dr. Drew on cannabis back in 2014 on, you know, he was against cannabis. Now he's harm reduction, but he was against it. And I'm like, well, why not? And we debated it. And I said, if you're going to eat sugar and you're going to drink caffeine, don't get on your soapbox and tell me that I can't smoke cannabis. Not that I do, but that I couldn't do that, or I can't have a glass of wine because it doesn't fit your profile of what sobriety is. You know, if you're smoking cigarettes, you're not technically sober, are you? And it just becomes this like question. So people started to back off and say, well, wait a minute, there's got to be some merit here. You know, if people are living longer and they're not, you know, driving under the influence, and we're able to do that, and we're able to get them, you know, corralled into something, why not use it as a pathway? It's just another pathway to get where we need to go, as opposed to you have to do it this way, and this is the only way to do it. Because 12-step didn't work for me, and I'm very public about that. It just didn't work. None of it worked for me. And I learned how to do it on a yoga mat, and that's okay. It's okay to have a different pathway. There's people who go to church. There's people who go to the gym. You know, if it works for you, use it, as opposed to going, you know, I have to do what everyone else is doing, or it's not right, or it's not the way. There's many ways to do it.
So let's talk about that for a minute, because I cannot tell you how often people ask me, like, what are the different resources, right? Where are the different, I've had somebody ask me today, the places that they can go to find recovery. Can you share some of the different pathways that somebody can find for recovery?
Yeah. Recovery coach would be number one for me. Recovery coach, you've got your meetings, your 12-step, your fellowship. You have Celebrate Recovery. You have Dharma Recovery. It's different. If you don't want to go that direction, you can kind of go on your own, go to the gym. You can get into a sport. I know a lot of people that start doing the extreme sport stuff where they're doing the Tough Mudders or the CrossFit, and they start feeling good about themselves. They start looking good, and they go, hey, you know, I really don't want to drink. I put a lot of effort into looking this way and working out in the gym. This is what I don't want. Jail is one. People get sober in jail. Sometimes it's not by choice. It's here you are and you got nothing else to do. Let's do it. Church is another one. So there's plenty of different ways to do it. I think the biggest thing is asking for help and asking the right people for help. A lot of people that are around you when you're using, they want to help you, but they want to help you with one pathway. So if you say, I want help, this is what you need to do. You need to go here. And that here may not be in alignment with what you want to do. One of the classes I teach is intervention. How do you stop someone from using? What tools do you offer them? And a lot of family members have one pathway. And I'll give you an example. I had a 23-year-old we got a call for an intervention from, and he had been to treatment 6-7 times. And I get mom on the phone, and mom says, I want him to go to Father Martin Ashley's.
Hmm.
And he was not religious, the client. And I said, that's not going to work. And she said, but he needs to. He needs to find God. If he just found God, he would be sober. And I said, well, does he believe in God? And she said, no. I said, then that's not going to work. And she got mad at me. And I said, that's not going to be his pathway. That's your pathway. That's what worked for you. Just because it worked for you doesn't mean it's going to work for him. And that's hard for a lot of people because they think that their way and what they want to share is valid, which it is, but it's not the only way that's
Right.
available.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes total sense. And if you guys have any questions, Rita just said that she wants to go back and rewatch this because she has a lot of questions. Anybody that has any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll try to get through them before we're done. So, okay, the coaching. So I know that we are talking about the Addictions Academy, and I kind of want to get into like what are the steps that somebody takes in a minute. But let's say that somebody just wants some recovery coaching because that isn't a great pathway for recovery. How would they find recovery coaching?
So there's a second section to my company called Sober on Demand. And we offer recovery coaching. We offer sober companions. We actually bring the entire treatment team to the client. So we can bring a medical detox, a nurse, a therapist, the yoga teacher, massage therapist, acupuncturist, all into the client, to their tour bus, to their home, to their hotel. We even did it in a live poker match. So if they need us, we can do it. So the Addictions Coach is our brand, and Sober on Demand, and I'll put that in the chat box for everybody. And then our students that come through the Addictions Academy, we hire them, and they go out and they do the work. So it's all part of what they get. They get a directory listing, they get a couple Facebook groups, they get some mentorship, they get 10 weeks of call-ins where we do mentorship. They get some marketing help. The whole concept is they can not only learn it, they can also work in that industry. And if you don't want to be a recovery coach, you want recovery coaching, we can then provide that for you as well. So I'll put both of that into the chat box for you
I don't
guys.
know about you guys, but I'm going to sign up for this. I
I
think
also
this is
think
really cool.
I also think, a big bonus for getting, sober through a recovery coach or with a recovery coach is a lot of people can't just up and leave their job. Some people still have to go to work. And if you have a sober companion or a recovery coach, someone who can come into your home and they can still guide you through the process from the comfort of your own home, or there's places that you can go to with that, but you can still go to work, then that's important, because one of the biggest, I never had a job in active addiction, but some people do. And one of the biggest concerns is if I can't go to work and I can't pay, for my mortgage, I'm going to lose my house. It's not worth it to me to go get clean and not be able to pay my mortgage. It's not worth it if, I can't pay my child support and my children aren't taken care of. And so those are big concerns. So meeting people not only where they are, but in their environment so they can continue with their, functions of life, I think is very, very beneficial.
Hmm. Yeah. And let me ask you about this because, as you know, Catherine, this is something that I'm going through right now. So, what about if somebody has a background? What if they're a convicted felon or they've, have some charges in their past? Does that interfere?
So it does not interfere to be a recovery coach. It does interfere to go through certain certification boards and to work in certain treatment centers.
Hmm.
However, with the Addictions Academy, I am on board to help people if they are in the process of getting their certifications. I know how to go through level 2 background exemptions. I know how to do that through Department of Children and Families. I know how to do it through ACA, which is the Agency for Healthcare Administration. There are different people that you will need background exemptions for. And just because you're a convicted felon or just because you've been to jail or prison doesn't mean that you can't work in the field. A recovery coach, it doesn't stop you. It doesn't stop you. But if you do want to work in a certain environment, there are certain stipulations that you have to meet, certain guidelines. And that's
Hmm.
not something that can't be taken care of. We are given second chances. We are able to come back from active addiction and live a fulfilling, purposeful life, and be, active and responsible members of society that are no longer frowned upon, but are looked up upon. Wow, look
Hmm.
what she's doing to help people. And I'm very familiar. I had to go through a level 2 background exemption.
I want to jump in real quick. So in the United States, there's no governance on coaching. So theoretically, a treatment center cannot ask you for a level 2 background check if you're a recovery coach. Theoretically, it's other jobs that they can ask you for: counselor, billing, UR, that kind of stuff. Most recovery coaches have a background. We even have a course that's called Prison Reentry that the Department of Justice, Washington, D.C. commissioned us to do. And it's for people coming out of prison. So most of our people that take that are working in the prison have felony records and they have misdemeanors, and they're helping people come out because there's all of these resources for people that have a felony conviction they don't know about. They don't know where to go, how to access. There's free housing, there's free food, there's free job assistance, there's
Wow.
free education. All of these things are included in the prison reentry course. So we also have that. And there's 40 classes. We have a trauma coach, we have a sex addiction, we have a mental health coach. So it's not just recovery coach, it's sort of everything. And when you talk about state boards and state regulations, that's mainly for counseling only, not for coaching. So counselors are starting to be required to have a bachelor's now, whereas
Mhm.
coaching, you don't. So a lot of people come to us with a high school education, not a problem. Felony background, not a problem. And we'll show you where you can get jobs and what you can do. And just to give you an idea, a price point, if you work in a treatment center as a recovery coach, you make between $17 and $25 an hour. If you work in private practice, you make between $150 and $375 an hour. So there's a
Wow.
big difference. And the reason for that is treatment centers haven't learned how to bill for recovery coaches. So to them, it's like, well, I can't bill for it, so I don't care. Especially if you have a treatment center that's used to heads in beds where they rotate consistently, they're only interested in billable service. Recovery coaches billable is about 75 an hour with a return of about 25 or 30. So to them, it's low hanging fruit. That's why you see so many treatment centers not utilize recovery coaches. Now, on the flip side, if you know Sierra Tucson in Arizona, I designed their whole program. So they have a recovery coaching 360, which is an amazing program. You come in, you get a coach for a year. They don't care. There's an expense on it. Of course there is, but they want a return on investment. They want a higher success rate, which you see because they have a waiting list, 10, 20, 30 deep just to get in. That's how it's done right. But a lot of treatment centers look at it like, well, this is an expense. We don't need it. And that's why you see people in private practice charging more because A, they can, and B, we get results. So that's where you're seeing that.
Mhm. Very interesting, and it kind of makes me wonder sometimes if some of these private treatment centers want a higher success rate. I mean, I don't know. I'm very leery of a lot of the private run treatment centers these days. So it's cool to hear you say that they see a success rate or their a return on investment as a high success rate. That's good.
I'll say it. Private run treatment centers aren't worried about the success rate. They want to see if
Mhm.
your insurance is billable and active. And
That's
Right.
it.
that's the unfortunate truth.
Mhm.
Sometimes they have underqualified people in there. Sometimes staff is not properly trained. Sometimes they don't have the skill set to do, AMA prevention and things like that, and to keep people from walking out the doors. And it's life saving, when you have those skills. And sometimes to think that the only place that you can get recovery is in treatment that's not true, and
Mhm.
that's something that we have to change. We have to let people know there are other ways that you can get sober. There's other ways that you can find recovery. It doesn't have to be in a private or a state ran treatment center. A lot of people think, I don't have insurance, I can't go to treatment. And you can, find an affordable treatment approach that doesn't necessarily consist of a treatment center.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I actually train treatment centers. I've trained 400 of them just in the US. And I've taught them AMA blocking, so why clients leave early, how to do lead generation, how to do business development ethically, legally, things like that. um, Billing, collections, all of that. We have a whole treatment center package for treatment centers to learn how to scale their brand. And every treatment center that's done it has scaled their brand ethically and legally. The problem with the business model of treatment centers, because at the end of the day, it's a business, is
Mhm.
our end user, our client, we don't want them to come back. And that's a problem, right? If you buy a pair of sneakers, Nike wants you to come back and buy more sneakers. So you do because you like the brand or it's on sale. in addiction and treatment recovery, we don't want you to come back because we want you to be healthy. But if you don't come back, we don't have a repeat business, which costs more in marketing dollars. So we're in an industry where it's weird, where you don't want the same client to come back. But a lot of the low-hanging fruit treatment centers that don't know how to market, don't know how to ethically do this, they look at it like, well, I spent $5,000 to get Becky Smith, the client. I want her to come back. So what am I going to do? I'm going to not do a good job or overstaff or untrain my people so that I know she's going to come back. And she comes back, I keep billing that insurance. They're getting 40, 50, 60, 70 grand every time she comes through. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, and I'll just put this out there, and this will probably make everybody shocked for a second. You take a 25-bed detox, okay, 80% capacity, billing on 80% insurance. Your net, not your gross, your net, what you walk away with is $25 million a year.
Wow.
Think about that for a second. So when you see an owner in a Lamborghini and an owner in a Maserati, and there's a guy that owns a big house here on A1A, it's a $40 million mansion, and he owns the largest detox in Florida. Everybody sends to him, and I'm like, y'all know what's going on, right? That's what you're looking at. So when it comes to money, if you're in recovery and you're not doing drugs and alcohol, what happens? You start to make a little money and your addicted brain goes, I want that. And then you see, more cars, more houses, more this, more that. And people sit back and go, wow, what's going on there? And that can become an addiction. Or you see some of these guys gambling and then billing insurance, and all of a sudden they're arrested. I mean, we had the one guy on American Greed down here in Florida because of what he did. So the industry is dirty in that sense. And you have two types of players. You have the people that are getting in recovery that go that direction. And then you have these hedge fund guys that see dollar signs that come in that go, I want to build this, have no idea what they're doing. So they just hire people and throw them in there, and they can't figure out why they're not full and why they're hemorrhaging money because they have untrained staff. So I get those calls. I come in and I clean house either way, and I teach them how to run it and how to have a sustainable business model while still helping people. And that's the piece that people are tired of. They're tired of seeing their friends do treatment 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and then the person dies. And they go, oh, they didn't figure it out in time, or they didn't want treatment. And I'm like, wait a minute. They did want treatment. Your model is the one that screwed up. Let's fix the model, and let's get coaching in there, and let's get boots on the ground people, because this sending people away, to the cocoon for a month where they play cards and hang out and get shuffled from group to group like cattle doesn't work. It's got a 95% fail rate. Why are we still doing it? When a recovery coach can call you at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and go, why are you home from work? What are you doing? I know what you're up to. Or the person works all day and they're driving home and their trigger is to pass a exit where they used to buy drugs. That recovery coach is on the phone with them. Let's go by the exit together. How you doing? How you feeling? Take a deep breath. They're walking them through it. And that's got a higher success rate than these treatment centers where we just shuffle in like cattle and we know they're not getting the help they need. And I was one of those burned out therapists Katherine talks about, was pulling 80-hour work weeks, sitting there going, I got a caseload of 12. What's this person's name across from me? And I've got 4 sessions in a month. Like, what kind of therapy are you getting if your first session is a biopsychosocial? Your second session is talking about your roommate you don't like. Your third session is your panic because you're leaving in a week and you don't know where you're going. And your fourth session is a discharge summary. You got no therapy. So that's where I started creating this school, because I said, this is not working. I've got to get people on the ground to do what I do to help on the front end to get people, what do you need? You need someone to call at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or at midnight. And, if your sponsor doesn't answer, what do? You go get high, right? You have to have more people to reach when you need them. And, sometimes like you want to go have coffee. There's no one around. What do? You can call your coach. Hey, what's going on? Katherine and I were in the pool hanging out, talking shop. And I did a big post about a joke. I was like, I'm acting like the mob, having business breaks in the pool. And people were laughing. They're like, you guys are really having a business conversation. Yeah, why not? Why can't life be fun and work? And when you start telling people in recovery doesn't sound like fun at all, But when you start realizing life and work and balance can be fun, they start to go, oh, yeah, okay, cool. And then you get them to do something fun, and they're like, I just did that sober. I went to the movie sober and I did it. And your coach is like, yeah, that's awesome. Good job. You don't get that in the treatment center. So that's why I think this is so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. And just listening to you say that, I can think of so many 30-day treatment centers. Like they're not getting anything in that 30 days. And it's a revolving door. And you're right. They go through the revolving door so many times and eventually they don't make it back, and it really is a shame. So I love the concept. And, just also listening to you talk about it, when you have a recovery coach that's going to give you that individual attention for when you pass the interstate or the first time that you get paid or when you run into your drug dealer at the gas station or when you have somebody to help you get through those things, you make it to the other side of those things. And being in treatment is great. And I don't discredit that because I was in treatment, but you're not getting that real life world experience while you're in treatment either. So it is really, really important to have somebody that can walk you through, especially the beginning of your journey. But what I also love that you guys talked about is going beyond, right? Like you go through that and then you go beyond. Like, what is my purpose? What am I going to do now? How can I help the next person? And then help the next person to help the next person. So I just love the concept. That's okay. So let's say that there's somebody on here. I'm sure there's somebody on here that wants to get involved. How does somebody go about doing this? They just go onto the website and do they fill out a form and then also how long is the schooling? Does it differ?
So
real quick, I just want to say in the comment section, I just put the addictionsacademy.com website and I also put soberondemand.com website. So I also put my Facebook page link, which says Princess Ericoma. That used to be my name on Facebook, and it didn't change when I changed to my real name. So,
mine's like that too.
So you can reach out to me on Messenger. Even if I'm not your friend or you don't follow me, send me a message and I can help you with that process. Also on soberondemand.com, that's if you need a recovery coach. And the addictionsacademy.com is if you want to become a recovery coach. And before I let Callie, explain a few things about going on the websites and the forums and looking through there, I just want to say that a lot of times when people are seeking treatment, anonymity is very important to them. And once you become a recovery coach, you don't necessarily have to say addictions recovery coach. You can be, you can do the life coaching course. You can do a master addiction recovery coach. You can just be a master coach. There's different ways that you can word it and name it, because some people don't want to break their anonymity for their jobs or their families or their, society, whatever they're in. Some people don't want to have certain coach names like, an addictions or a harm reduction coach or something like that. So there are different ways you can go with a life coach and things like that. And that's important, to have that anonymity, and that is offered. And there are ways that you can go about that and you can still keep your anonymity. So I just wanted to put that out there for those people that are concerned, because sometimes people don't want to go to treatment because, Callie works with a lot of Black ops, people who are high profile that doesn't want, their name in the newspaper because one is either political or their jobs or, wherever they are, their social status. It would not be a good thing for their name to be, Hunter Biden was in our rehab treatment center. And I don't know if Callie works with Hunter Biden or not. Okay.
Okay.
But I will say that, President Bush is not going to want his drug addict son just stuck in some rehab somewhere. So a recovery coach, especially a high profile person, this will be the perfect solution for them, someone to go in there and do something like that. So I just wanted to put that information out there. And somebody said just now they don't see any links.
I just put it down in mine too. We each have to share it from it'll go on. If we share, we can pull up the comments, but we can only respond to the comments in our own. So I put mine
on yours. I don't think mine's streamed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll share it on yours real quick.
Okay. And then also on Facebook, my name is Katherine Fannin, the same that's in the little identity bar here. You can look me up and send me a message and I will guide you through the process to get signed up with the Addictions Academy or Sober on Demand, either one.
Okay. I'm getting them on yours right now. Okay.
Okay.
I put them on mine. I can't put them in the group thing. I'm blacked out on it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I don't think mine streamed tonight. That's why it cut me out a second ago.
No,
So-
it is.
You're
I'm seeing
streaming.
you right now.
Okay, so anybody who needs to reach out to me, I'm available. If I do not get back to you tonight, because last week after the show, that was why I was really, happy I was coming back on tonight. There was just such an outpour of everyone who wanted to talk, and I just didn't have the ability as one person to talk to everybody. But I do have the ability to talk to you over time individually. So continue
That's
to reach out.
right. Yes. So be patient. We will get to you. Every one of you guys are very important. And I think that it would be amazing for anybody that wants to get involved in this to get involved with this, because the truth is that we really need people that are willing to help people. Like, addiction is really bad these days. We need people that are willing to help others. Okay. So, so how does somebody get involved? So they just go to the website.
They can go to the website, theaddictionsacademy.com. So it's plural. Make sure you put that S on addictions. There's a form on there. You can fill it out. It comes right to us. We will call you, email you whatever information you want. You can also call the 1-800 number, which is 1-800-706-0318. You can reach out to Katherine. You can reach out to me. I'm on everything, every social media platform you can come up with. You could put my name in or just Google me. You'll find me. Sober on Demand, same thing. You can call one of us. We'll reach you. 1-800-706-0318 is the
Oh,
number.
I just put it in wrong.
Yeah, that's okay.
800-706-0318, correct?
Yep, you got
Okay.
it. Yep.
Okay,
And
sorry.
that's for both. That's for if you need help or you want to learn to be trained in this stuff. Either way, we can reach out to you and assist.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on tonight. This was really, really great. And I think this will really help a lot of people. So thank you so much. It was so good meeting you guys. Or, well, it was good meeting you, Callie. I've met you before.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Bye.